Welcome back to another episode of My Legacy Garage. This time around, it's gonna run. I mean, we know it runs, but it's gonna like for real run. Probably. I mean, I don't really know, but it's an educated guess. Just watch and find out. I'm sure it'll be fine. If you haven't watched the first video on this car, you might want to go give that a gander. It has got an oil leak back there where somebody cut the oil pressure line off. So I've got a plug. We're going to plug that up, get some fuel to it. I need to put the battery back in it because I stole that for something else that you guys don't know about yet. And then we're going to see if we can get it to run. Probably set a fuel tank up here on the roof, run down here to the carb. Can't run it for terribly long because we have, you know, oh, it's windy out today. We don't have a fan or anything like that. It is what it is. You know what? I don't even think there is a fan with this thing now that I'm thinking about it. There is parts everywhere. And I sure don't see a fan anywhere. Maybe paying the boneyard a visit. Out there in Death Row. I'm pretty sure that fan that's on that truck right there would probably work. There you have it. We got the plug out. Now it's got to get a new plug in. That's what came out of it. As you can see, it was just cut right off there. The other end of it, it's right there. Don't know how I missed that when I initially inspected. I guess I was too excited about just having this car. Alright, I'm going to stick this plug in here and then let's see what happens. Ta-da! Good as new. Not ideal because I'm not going to be able to see what the oil pressure is, but we know it has oil pressure because it was shooting oil out of there pretty good. Before we get too much further here, we need to address my stupidity. That's right, I'm a moron. I'm fine with this. Nobody's perfect, right? When I set the firing order up in this car, I did it wrong. And I thought about it after the fact. Somebody commented on it and I was like, what did I say? Because I know that it's odds on the driver's side and evens on the passenger side. But that's not what I said, and that's not how I set it up. So I need to fix that. Not really sure how it ran before. It's kind of a mystery. I'm going to go with it didn't want me to junk it. I'm just kidding. I wouldn't junk this car. Might junk the engine though. That could happen. Anyway, let's fix that before we try and start it again. Where do we start? I think the best thing to do would be to pop all the wires off the distributor cap. And then we'll just go around and we'll put them on there in the right order from the cylinder that they're from. That seems like the easiest solution to me. Okay, so number one. There you have it. Make sure nothing's gonna melt on the manifolds right away anyway. I'll have to straighten these wires up at some point in the pretty near future. But for now, this will do. I'm content with that. This seems like the opportune moment to put some fuel to the carburetor. See if it leaks everywhere. It probably will, but you know, we have to try. I guess the first thing we need to do is get this old fuel line off of here, huh? Let's try that. Why aren't you picking up any fuel? Huh? I have really got to invest in an electric fuel pump. Well, it's building pressure, so I'm assuming the floats are closing. No accelerator pump action. Let's slap a battery in it and see what it does. Positive, positive, negative, negative. Okay. Time to see what it'll do. Oh, no, wait. We forgot something important. If we want it to run, we need to power the auxiliary ignition system. Now it'll run. Vroom. Not so much. Something flammable perhaps to give it a little oomphy oomphy. Yep, I'd say it wasn't getting fuel. Sounds better now that the firing order's right. Lights right up. Alright, let's see if we can do something about fuelage. I think we need a carburetor adjustment tool. Really don't want to have to go through this carburetor. Just not feeling that today. Let's try a little more of this. Maybe it'll work some magic and suck some stuff through there. Contact! Nope, it's just got no fuel. That's a bummer. Let's do some investigating. I've never taken an Edelbrock carburetor apart before, so I'm not really sure how this is going to go. I've never had this fancy performance stuff. I was always just content, you know, if it ran, then it was good enough. And it didn't even have to run good. If it ran, it ran. So let's take all these screws on top apart and see what's underneath of there. Hey, somebody remember that ground wire for the choke went right there, because I'll forget that by the time I put this back together. All right, just stay in there then. I'm probably going to immediately regret this. What else? Wait. What's this? What does that thingy? Should that come off there? That should probably come off. How long is this bolt? Wonder if, I guess that probably needs to come off. Does this linkage need to come off too? Probably. Is there more screws somewhere? It doesn't feel like it wants to come off of there. What's in here? Is there screws in here? Anybody know? All right, I'll look. Yep, sure is. Seems like a good time to drop something down in there. Whoa, what's that? That looks like a float needle valve. Is that the needle valve? What I can tell you for sure is there's not screws to hold the top of the carburetor on in there. I don't see any. Is it just on there that good? There you go. You just had to really yank on it real hard. That's what it needed. This feels like there's pieces in here that don't want to come apart. What do you suppose that is? That's full of gas. Got all sorts of gas in the float bowls, but it sure doesn't seem like it's getting to where it needs to go, does it? All right, now we've got gas running everywhere. Let's do this. Hopefully stop that while we figure out why it doesn't want to come apart. It's like this float on this side is stuck. Really doesn't look bad at all. It's got a little bit of crud in it, but it's not bad. It's pretty clean. I suppose, let's see if we can blow some of these orifices and stuff out here. I wonder if it's a vacuum problem. This thing's got vacuum leaks everywhere. I mean, you got a big one right here, some in the back. I think there's one right here in the front. This has a cap on it, but it's not on there very good. It's all dry rotted. I wonder if it just doesn't have enough vacuum to pull the gas into the engine. That's possible, I suppose. I don't know. I am not an expert, that's for sure. Of course, if you're watching this, you know that already. Here's what we've got, folks. It looks like a pretty clean carburetor. I don't really see any gunk in it. I've blown through all the passages. Everything seems to be open. I really am starting to think it's a vacuum issue, though I guess it's possible. I guess it's just sucking vacuum so many places it's not pulling air down through here and pulling the gasoline with it. That is possible. So we're gonna see if we can start cleaning up some of these vacuum leaks, like that right there and that one right there. I think there's one down there and there's a big one right there. So I'm gonna start cleaning them up and see if we can get somewhere with it. See a little bit of action. Let's try it and see what it does. Probably need to put the fuel back up. That would probably be helpful. Who knows, maybe we'll get away without having to fix all these vacuum leaks, you know, right away. Yeah, boy, that's a victory right there. Cool. Needs a new accelerator pump, and it runs like crap because of all these vacuum leaks, but we can fix that. Smoky in the coolant system. That might be bad news. We're just going to pretend like that's dust burning off in the coolant system and not exhaust gases getting into the coolant system. The time has come to talk about some wiring. This is the wiring harness that runs down over the other side of the motor to the starter. This is what powers everything in the car, basically. And right now I have that bypass with my little license plate switchy thingy. And I was looking here and there's some tape missing, and we can see that there's a black, purple, and a red wire, which is normal. That's what they used. Black would go to your amp meter, purple is your actual signal wire to the starter, and then red was your power wire for everything inside. On the end, those wire choices do not exist, and I can see there's been repairs made to this before. It's been burnt off, etc. I can see a big bulge in it right here, which tells me that's probably where this red wire changes to green. Because right here we can see we've got the black, we've got the purple, but they've got this real thin gauge green wire in here in place of this much better, larger gauge red wire. So I think I'm going to take and strip this all down and fix this wiring. I don't know if I'm going to end up keeping this or if it's going to end up all being replaced at some point, but for now the goal is just make the car run and drive. And to do that, boy, it sure would be nice to be able to get in, hit the key, and it would start. Plus, I want to see what else works, so I think we're going to tackle this. I'm just going to peel this off the rest of the way up to where it's already messed up here, and that's where we'll start rewrapping it. I don't know if don't think I'm going to wrap it with electrical tape. I'll probably get some insulation for it because this wire looks like it was burned several times. My guess would be somebody got it too close to the heat, and that was all she wrote. There we are. Looks like they have patched all these wires right here. So I think I want to get new wiring and redo this because I want it to be reliable. Although, I mean, this is a much smaller gauge. It's much smaller. It's my only real concern. The rest of it, it looks like it had a burnt spot and it burned all the wires off, and they just trimmed these two and hooked them back up, but the red one for some reason must have had a real bad day. Maybe it shorted out and got hot and it all shorted together right here and melted everything, and the red wire was melted the whole way. I'm not sure. Either way, I think we need to fix it. Maybe we'll just put a new red wire on it. I think we're going to take the rest of these apart and fix them too. In order to run the car from inside, we need to hook this coil wire back up, which is this handy dandy little purple wire right here. So we got to unhook this license plate switch that I have made up, and then we can hook that up. And I have gone ahead and stretched this wire across that is the starter harness, and it turns out it reaches. I'm not sure why they had extended those wires, but it appears to not be required. So I am going to hook it up, and we're going to put some power to it and see if it catches on fire. Seems like an easy test to me, and if it doesn't, then we'll try and start it and see how that goes, see if it still runs and everything, because we know it runs. So if it doesn't start, we've got an issue with ignition somewhere probably. Story is, this guy was going to take this engine out of it and put a diesel in it. So he started taking everything apart and then lost interest, I guess. I'm not sure. Either way, it's my problem now. I have wired the purple wire for your signal wire, and then the black and the red together to power and for the amp meter, and that'll go on the battery stud. We're going to stick it on there and hope for the best. We'll be careful when we put it back together and make sure there's no fire. Oh, we're so close, folks. I can almost taste it. It tastes like victory and old gas. Maybe a little carbon monoxide. Touch, just a touch, yeah. Great. The starter wire's all snuggied up. Looks good. This nonsense has all been removed. Now we got to hook a battery up to it and see if anything starts to smoke or immediately bursts into flame. Yeah, it's got a draw somewhere. Key switch on? I don't think the keys are even in it. They're in the trunk, I think. What do we suppose is trying to power up? Gauges, maybe? Shouldn't have a draw on it right now. Let's see what starts to smoke. I don't see or hear anything. Well, I've got a light on in here. Well, we've got rear lights. Front lights are probably just missing grounds, you think? Are all the grounds off of them? I don't know, maybe everything's burned out up here. Well, I guess let's hit the key and see if it spins over. Fun fact, it starts with the key, but it doesn't shut off with the key. Intriguing. As you can see, there have been a lot of modifications to the wiring over the years, and I'm not sure how motivated I am to be digging through all that right now. I think that what has happened is that black wire is tied in somewhere that is feeding power to the ignition. It may supposed to be on the other side of the starter. It's supposed to be feeding power to ignition when cranking. So I think we're gonna take that apart and try that and see how that works. Maybe I'll dig around in here first and see if I can see anything, but I think that's the way they had it set up originally. It's been several days, I think a week since I worked on the car. That wiring, it really frustrated me, and I looked up under that dash and I was just like, I'm not doing this. I'm not feeling it. So I thought about it all week. I'm sure y'all do that too, right? All week you're going to bed, you're trying to, you know, get relaxed, go to sleep, and next thing you know, there's 55 Chevy in your head and you're trying to sort out wiring just from memory. It's a good time. Anyway, let me show you what I found, because I came out here and dug around that a little bit off camera, no pressure, just kind of chill, and I figured it out. So let me show you what happened. What you see here is the starter solenoid, and you can't really see the wires. You can kind of see them right there. You got black, red, and purple. Purple is the signal wire. I had that one figured out. Originally, I had the red wire on the main lug there where the black wire is now, and the car wouldn't shut off. It would start with the key, and you turn the key off, and it would stay running. So I figured out that must be the power lead to boost the voltage on cranking to start the engine. So I switched the red and the black, and the black is now on the main lug, and the red is on right there. You can kind of see it to provide power when it's cranking. And lo and behold, it's fixed. Welcome to the inside of the car. Key switch. And fire. Well, that's more like it. You may have noticed the approximately 9,000 RPM idle. Pretty sure that's because of vacuum leaks, because there's like 200 of them. I got some caps. We're gonna go plug some vacuum leaks off and then start it again and see if it sounds better. Seems like that should work. I mean, it's got to be done anyway, and if it fixes it, hey, cool. Pretty sure that's what's wrong. So if you look back here, we got this port here that had two big vacuum leaks on it. We've got that plugged up. We've got this big one on the front of the carburetor plugged up. We got one right here that has a disintegrated cap on it. Let's eliminate that and put a cap on that. This little guy right here looks like it'll probably work. Go. And that's plugged. This is the vacuum advance for the timing. I think that might be it. Is that it, really? It was just those vacuum leaks? I have a hard time believing that would cause that high of an idle. Let's see if that helped our super high idle. Sounds mean. Time to do some explaining on what we've discovered here so far. I have tried to mount starter. Yeah, starter. Whew, long day. Alternator. And the fun stuff that I am discovering is that I don't think that what they gave me with the car is for this car. Because when you put stuff on, this pulley doesn't line up with this pulley, which doesn't line up with this pulley. Even if you flip this around, now it's way out front, and this pulley still doesn't line up with this pulley and doesn't line up with that pulley. There was only two other pulleys that came with the car, and they're both crank pulleys. And they both are for V-notch belts, which this appears to be set up for the serpentine. Now it does have V-notch on it too. But I guess what I'm getting at is I don't think they sent me the right pieces with this car. That's the feeling I'm getting. And that's a bummer. Even this stat on there, even that doesn't line up anything with this bottom pulley at all. Even the V-notches don't line up. And there is another alternator that has a V-notch pulley on it that's still brand new in a bag. So I don't know if they were trying to switch it over to that, or if this was just a bunch of crap they had gathered up to try and make it work, or what the gig was. But what I know for sure is it doesn't work. Seeing as how we couldn't, you know, put the drives on the front of the engine, I looked around and I was like, what can we do? I was like, well, we can put the core support back together. Ta-da! We have a core support back in it. Even hooked up the ground wires and stuff. Put all the bolts and everything back in it. All the bolts that come through the fender wells and everything are in it. And we come up one bolt short right there, which I think we can live without that for now. Otherwise, it's all in there and bolted in. I feel pretty good about that. I think we have a battery tray that goes right up there. So I think we're going to go ahead and get that mounted, put the battery back in it, make sure everything still works. And now that I've hooked up these ground wires and such here, I'd like to see if we have any lights up here in the front of the car, because I know that the tail lights work, but it'd be nice to have lights in the front of the car as well. Gets us just, you know, one step closer to the, you know, moving. This thing goes here like so. Go ahead, get that mounted back in there again. Makeshift fuel line's a little bit in the way. Might have to modify that too. Which is just as well. It's probably close to time to find out what's in the gas tank. I haven't even looked. I'm not even sure if it has a gas tank in it. Surely it has a gas tank in it. I guess we'll find out. Why can you never get the last bolt started? Anybody else have that problem? It's the last bolt that has to go in something and you just can't get it going. Here we go. Good solid battery tray. Woohoo! Progress has been made. It's time to see if we have any lights. Oh, got two headlights. There's smoke in that one, so that's probably bad. Still got no marker lights. Not sure why. Maybe they just burned out. Either way, that's power to the chassis, and I don't see anything burning. That's a step in the right direction. Let's make sure we still have some it startages. Choke still works. That's why it's idling so high. Yeah, it's up on choke. So it starts, it shuts off. It appears some of the wiring works. I'm not sure what's going on with these marker lights, but maybe they're just burned out. All right. I think that's going to do it for this episode of My Legacy Garage. If you like this stuff, please make sure you go hit the like button. And if you don't like it, hit the dislike button twice. Just make sure we understand. And feel free to leave a comment. I love getting comments and reading them and responding to them. They're not all great, but feast and famine, you take what you get, right? And above all else, hit the subscribe button, because that way you can see the progress on this car. This is just the start. We made some decent progress on it. I mean, it starts and shuts off with the key now. The core support stuff's back in it. I'm going to have to order an accessory kit for the front of it, I think, because what we have here, I don't feel like mixing and matching. I think I'd just like to get a matched set for a small block Chevy, slap it on there and be done with it. And it's going to need a new radiator, because the radiator, it looks like it's trash and it's old. So we're just going to get a new one to be done with that too. And that way we can get all that stuff put in it, fired up, get it cooling. We need to figure out a fuel system from the tank rather than the boat tank up here. I mean, you know, it works, but it's going to look awkward going down the road. That would be bad. But that's all the next video, I think. We're going to tackle all that. It's going to take me a little bit to get that stuff in. Christmas is coming up. This video probably won't even go out till after Christmas. You know, it's a busy time of year. What can I say? Anyway, I hope you all have or have had a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and we'll see you next time.